Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is what I love to do, this monthly mindset call. It's usually the first Thursday of every month, but this past week I had to postpone it to this week because I was not feeling well. Had to take some things off my plate last week. So, which I'm excited to, it's going to really coincide with what I plan to talk about tonight about simplifying. And sometimes you just need to take some things off your plate for the sake of rest or sanity, or just to care for yourself. We're always, presented with different various things throughout our lives, and we just need to know when to pivot, when to simplify, and when to delegate, or even just remove things from our calendar, from our plate, so that we can take time to heal and to take care of ourselves. So tonight we are talking about simplifying. It's something that's really been on my mind a lot lately, because actually since 2020. And I wonder if this is something you are all experiencing. 2020 has really shifted things for many of us in some challenging ways, but also I think in some good ways. It's kind of shaken things up and has given us the opportunity to look at things differently. And I feel like 2020 for us was really the beginning of a lot of getting rid of and letting go of various things in our lives. And it's interesting when you think about the amount of decisions that we need to make each day, and how it is only continued to increase over the past few centuries. And think about the amount of choices we're presented with on a daily basis. Instead of having to choose between 2 or 3 options, we now have like hundreds of different options in every category imaginable, like food, entertainment, drinks, clothing, cars, phones, flavors, scents. It's funny because just a few weeks ago, I was at the mall with my kids doing a little bit of school shopping, and I was in Bath and Body Works. And can you believe the amount of choices you have in candles and scents? 2 full stores full of candles, scents, and it's just crazy when you think about the amount of choices that we have. And on some level, it seems awesome, but also I think that it can really have an effect on our well-being, having too many decisions to make. It's no wonder I'm so physically and emotionally exhausted every time I have to go to the mall, because of it's just sensory and decision overload. And I just feel exhausted every time that I come home. Many of us really do struggle with this decision overload, but I really think that I can help guide you in the right direction, because this has been a journey that Sean and I have been on as of more recently, since 2020. And we've really had to rethink a lot of things. And so imagine you have 3 batteries: one for energy, one for your mental energy, one for your physical energy, and one for the amount of time in a day. And the second you get out of bed, we are literally racing against these 3 batteries, trying to ensure that we fit in everything that we need and want to do into each day that we have. But often we end the day feeling completely defeated and saying things like, there's never enough time in a day. Why can't I seem to catch up? Why do I always start the day off strong and end it by sabotaging my goals? Why can't I seem to make better choices when it comes to consuming food, drinks, and entertainment, even social media? We've all been caught in that trap where we spend far too much time scrolling social media. But this applies to a lot of different areas of our lives. And I feel like if you can understand how what's causing you to have less self-control later in the day, then you can kind of get a handle on it. So that's why I wanted to explain this tonight. So ER Shred really has been the lead domino for us. It has truly been the key that has unlocked my ability to be more disciplined in my life, and it has also fanned the flame of belief in myself that I can actually stick with things long term. That this is I'm going on 2 years now living this lifestyle, and it's still mind blowing to me because I'm 41 years old and have tried so many different things in the past and have never been able to stick with anything longer than maybe a month. I'm always like, bouncing around to one thing or another, or just not finding the willpower or discipline to stick with anything long term. And when you take a look at it and kind of reverse engineer, like, what happened? What is it here that has caused me to, or has like literally flipped the switch in my brain? ER Shred has really freed up so much of my mental energy because of how much it has decreased the amount of decisions I need to make each day. All of us in ER Shred, we're experiencing tremendous freedom by simply eliminating all of the choices in our diet. And some might say, this sounds like we are deprived, when you have to eliminate so many different things, but why then are we all feeling so alive, right? It's like, okay, so less is more. We are experiencing firsthand that less is more. Less decisions to make frees up mental space with ER Shred. We have less things to remember to buy at the store, less ingredients, no more following complicated recipes, no more of using all those fancy kitchen gadgets that are just taking up space in your cabinets. I mean, I've gotten rid of so many of the extra little gadgets that I've had in my kitchen. And over the summer, we just really started to simplify when it comes to our possessions. But, if you were like me and you went from vegan to ER Shred, just how much time you're saving, less dishes you're using, and the amount of time spent eating and food prepping. I was literally always hungry. Every 2 to 3 hours, I was whipping up some new complicated vegan recipe, because it takes a lot of ingredients to make it taste good. Or make it like filling. So I love that it's really just eliminated so much of not only the decisions, but the time and all of the things that I need to remember, and less time in the kitchen. So I really, really love that. All I really need now is a pan, a spatula, a plate, and a fork. The simplicity has just been incredibly liberating. But, over the past couple of years, like I said, since starting ER Shred, Sean and I have continued to simplify our lives in other areas as well. We've been letting go of so many of our possessions. Like over the summer, we sold our other home, we sold our boat, we started paddleboarding more. Just, making things more simple has actually been a lot more enjoyable, because we realized that we had so many of the things that we felt obligated. It is almost like you have this obligation, like, well, I spent money on it and now I need to use it, but then trying to find the time to use all the things like our other home, the boat, and all the extra little toys and things. And even, like I said, the kitchen gadgets, like you always feel like, oh, I have all these things, I need to use them. And so by eliminating so many of our possessions, it's really just felt so much lighter. And we are finding ways to have fun that doesn't even require anything fancy, like a boat or even any money. Like it's just been really fun to kind of take a step back and connect to our roots, our ancestral roots, which is what we're all about. And when I think about all the different dates, Sean and I, for like 15 years of our marriage, every single weekend we'd go on a date and we'd go to a dinner and a movie. And now we just go on hikes. We go on hikes for our date, and we would still go eat out, but it's like every time we think, should we go eat out? We're always like, well, I kind of prefer getting my grass-fed beef and real butter, because, at restaurants, for some reason, not many restaurants offer real butter. You're going to get the like vegetable oil butter. So we've always kind of just naturally opted out of going out to eat, just because we prefer getting better quality food. You spend more money to get lesser quality food whenever you eat out. Okay, so The benefits of simplifying: conserves valuable mental energy. It improves self-control because, like I said, you're less in control of your urges and cravings later in the day, because that's when your mental energy begins to run out. So that will explain why you maybe feel like later in the day you revert back to your old habits of snacking later at night, or indulging in too much social media, wasting time. We love social media. It's been such a beautiful way for all of us to connect. We're using it now. So there's nothing wrong with social media. It's just, it is something that can become a culprit if we're not aware of how much time we're spending on it, and if we're not really intentional about what we're going to be doing on social media, because I'm guilty of it. I've spent way too much time swiping, TikToks or Instagram reels, and it's fun, it's enjoyable. But what I've made a huge goal to set a timer whenever I allow myself to indulge in social media and scrolling, and just kind of like mindlessly enjoying what I see, because it is entertainment and I do love it and I appreciate it. But I make sure that I set a timer so that I don't so that I ensure that I am using my time the way I ultimately want to, and not another day goes by where I'm like, oh wow, I didn't really get much done because I'm always distracted with my phone. That's just one of the biggest things that I wanted to make sure that you're all aware of. If you find yourself giving in, or later in the day, that's the time where you don't seem to be as motivated to stick with your plans that you made for the week or your diet or whatever, then just know that that mental energy will run out the more decisions that you're presented with on a daily basis. And you can prevent yourself from falling into those traps by, planning ahead of time, like maybe going to bed earlier, just knowing beforehand what you're going to be doing in the evening, what you're going to be eating, when you're going to be going to bed, how much time you're going to be spending on social media or watching Netflix, all those things. So it's just really about planning ahead of time. But I'm also in a minute going to share some three tips that I feel can really help combat decision fatigue. Going back to the benefits of simplifying your life. Also, it improves the quality of your decisions, because the more decisions you have to make over time, you start to just kind of like, all right, choose one, choose that. And then your decisions ultimately aren't what you would want if you actually preserve some of that mental energy to make the important decisions, which is usually best to do first thing in the day, when you have more of that mental energy available for you. Also, like I said, it saves a lot of time. Simplifying, you've already seen how you're saving time with your diet by simplifying there, but imagine other areas that you can simplify, and how much time you can save in other areas as well. It improves overall well-being, and it makes space. This is my favorite one. It makes space for creative problem solving, and also just creativity in general. I really feel like ensuring that we have that creative energy, that we're utilizing our creative energy to make important decisions, or to problem solve, or just to create something awesome in your life. It's important that we simplify so that we can free up space for that creative energy to flow through us, and we can ultimately create the life that we all want. Okay, so three ways to combat decision fatigue. Number one, reduce the amount of decisions you need to make. You got to get rid of stuff, like declutter, simplify your space, your home screen, your apps, subscriptions, your wardrobe, exercise equipment, books, your kids. Maybe you could get rid of one or two of them, like it's all about simplifying. But I wanted to share how a while ago I was like, really wanting to learn a lot. And I started like subscribing to a lot of different apps, like things that would help me improve, like a meditation app, or I don't know if you've heard of Skillshare, but I was like, oh, there's so many different things you can learn with the Skillshare app. So I was just like, oh yeah, I could learn like creative writing. I could learn about video editing, like anything that you want to learn, you could find it in Skillshare. It's a subscription that you pay for the app yearly. And so I paid for I realized I was paying for different apps. And at the same time, with good intentions, I just wanted to learn and improve and like get better at meditating regularly. So I purchased an app and I kept purchasing apps. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to a point where I realized that I was feeling overwhelmed because of the amount of apps that I purchased. Because like I said in the beginning, the things that you pay for, you spend money on, there's a part of you that's like, okay, I spent money on it, I have to use it. So I found myself feeling overwhelmed by the amount of apps that I had. I'm like, oh, I got to use Skillshare because I paid for it. I got to use my meditation app, and I got to use there was like 5 different apps that I had paid for. And I was like, I didn't realize that I had done this to myself, but I was feeling overwhelmed and pressure to use all of them. But once I realized that and became aware of what it was doing to me, having an opposite effect of what I ultimately wanted, I decided, okay, I'm going to, after those subscriptions ran out, I made a goal to only choose one app, like have a subscription to only one app per year. And so right now I'm choosing the meditation app so that I can get in a good habit, and meditation is just a huge priority for me. So I choose the meditation app this year, and next year, if I want to, I can choose a different one. So that has really helped me to simplify my life by making sure that I'm, looking at all areas of my life. So the subscriptions was one thing, and books was another thing. I was just buying books all the time. So I was just like craving learning, and I just love reading books and learning from other people. And I was buying so many like on Audible and just purchasing actual books from Amazon. And I was feeling overwhelmed by the amount of books I had. And that was just stressing me out. So I made another goal with books. I stopped buying books. I allow myself one new book a year. And I found that I have plenty of books I can go back and reread them. I have all my Audible books still. So I go back and re-listen to some. So I don't feel like I'm missing out in any way, because some of these books that I've found that are really good and helpful, I do want to reread them. But if I'm continuing to buy new books all the time, I'm never allowing space or time to go back and read those books. So one new book a year, one new subscription a year. And that's just a few areas that I have made an effort to simplify. And it really has freed up time, mental space, less decisions to make. And then, okay, so number 2 is to automate as many decisions as you can. I'm really all about routines, creating routines and systems which will help you form habits. And when things become habits, they no longer require that mental energy. It's just something that you do. And I am all about plan out your week. And that way you can make most of your decisions ahead of time, and you can get in that flow of decision making, and you can plan to plan during the time where you are feeling emotionally, you have that mental energy, you're refreshed, do it first thing in the morning. And that way you're looking at your week ahead of time, making a lot of the decisions beforehand. And that can really ensure that your week goes as planned, and also living your life, mindfully living. When you think about, sometimes people will say, well, if you plan a lot, then you're not allowing yourself to go with the flow and, not living in the present. But really, it's almost like I like to compare it to the mental practice. When we have a lot of, athletes and even performers and public speakers, they do mental practice. And that way, so for me, I feel like planning out my week ahead of time is a way for me to visualize how it's going to go, practice it in my mind, And then it really does have a huge effect on how my week plays out. So one thing that I wanted to share is my system with my wardrobe. So that's another thing that I have really simplified. I've really thinned out my wardrobe. I went through a phase where I was just buying a lot of clothes, and I was really into clothes for a little while, but that was just, I realized it just wasn't me. And I also felt overwhelmed every time I went into my closet, seeing all these clothes that I never wore, spent money on, didn't wear them, or maybe wore them once. And I was like, okay, why do I keep doing this to myself? So I've eliminated, like, I am down to probably a quarter of what my wardrobe used to be. I got rid of so many things that were just sitting in my closet, and I thought maybe one day I'll wear them, or, well, I spent money on them, but I don't actually like wearing it, but I spent money on it. So I kind of felt like, oh, well, maybe I'll wear it one day. But years went by and I didn't wear the things. And so I finally got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm letting these things go. I'm simplifying my wardrobe, and I'm creating a system. My system, I made a video about it on my YouTube channel. So basically, first step is eliminating all the things that I don't wear. If I haven't worn it within the last 6 months or a year, I let it go. And I don't feel like, oh, I'm throwing away money, because I'm donating it, or my sister loves my clothes. So she's always happy anytime I want to give her any of my clothes. So it doesn't feel like I've wasted any money, because I know sometimes that can be something that holds us back from getting rid of things, because we're like, whoa, I paid so much money for that. And it feels like I'm just throwing it away. But just think of it more in terms of donating to somebody who might really enjoy it. So with my clothes, with my wardrobe, I've eliminated all the decisions with what I wear every day. This shirt today, I didn't choose to wear this. I'm going to try to explain my system because I created a video that shows you how I do it, but I'm going to explain how I do it. So I hope this makes sense. So every time I wash my clothes, I hang them up on the back of the rack. So I wear only the next shirt in line. So I'm wearing everything equally. I'm cycling through all of my clothes equally. So what I do is I pick the shirt that's next in line, and then I pick shorts or pants to go with it. So I have like 5 of my favorite shorts, 5 of my favorite pants, and I just pick a pair of pants or shorts, depending on the weather, that goes best with the shirt that is next in line. Does that make sense? So that's my system. So I don't make any decisions with my wardrobe, never have to decide, what am I going to wear today? Just wear what's next in line. So creating those types of systems in certain areas of your life can really free up some of that mental space. Okay, and the last one, number 3, do the most important things first. Like I said, the things that require the most mental energy, don't waste your best energy on those repetitive tasks. I suggest doing the hardest, most complicated tasks first thing in the morning when your mind is sharp and all 3 batteries are fully charged and ready to go. So before I ask Jeff to come on with me to be coached, I want to leave you guys with some questions that you can ask yourself when it comes to going through either your wardrobe, possessions in your home, books. These are some questions that you can ask yourself when trying to eliminate and simplify. Do I need this? You have to really get honest with yourself. Do you actually need it? And do you like your reason for keeping it in your life? The next question, is this an outdated reason? Sometimes we keep things, and at one point, or even like this could apply to people, like sometimes we associate with people because perhaps we're just lifelong best friends. You were best friends in high school and you just feel like, oh, we got to be friends forever. But what if that person is no longer, it doesn't have to be a sad thing, it could just be like, I heard this quote once. It was something like, life is like an elevator. Sometimes you need to stop and let people off. And so when you think about certain people that are in your life, that you feel almost an obligation to keep them in your life, but they're no longer, they were an important part of your life for a season, but they no longer fit in your life now. So just getting clear on, is this an outdated reason why you are keeping the thing, the person, the home? Like for me, letting go of that home was really hard. I had to get really clear on, because I had all these reasons why I wanted to keep the house for years. It was a home that, so just to explain, give you a little background for those of you who don't know, Sean and I, we bought this house up north in Salt Lake together when we first got married, and we had one baby at the time, and we had the house for 16 years, and it was just the home. It was very sentimental to us, and our kids, we raised our kids in that home. But then over time, we bought this house down here more as like a vacation getaway. And so we were going back and forth for 10 years, doing 6 months up there, 6 months down here. And it was beautiful for a while. We did it for 10 years, and it was a lot of fun. But, and I had all these reasons why I wanted to keep doing it. Like, I loved that we got to chase good weather. I loved that my kids got to meet friends in other areas. It gave them the opportunity to make new friends. It was fun to just get to switch things up here and there. But as they got older, things started to change. And all my reasons for holding on to the house, it felt like, well, I love the house because I had my babies in this house, or all these things that I realized that it served me for a time. That keeping that house was awesome while we had it, but I had to be honest with myself, like, okay, is it time to let it go? And why am I trying to cling to that? And do I like my reasons? And once I got really clear on my reasons, I was like, okay, those reasons are outdated. I'm ready to let go of the house. And it was like unbelievably hard to sell that house because of how sentimental it was for us. But it's just the way life is. You have these seasons. They're very important when you're in that season. But then when you transition into this next season of your life, you have to get clear on, all right, is it time to let this go? Was this meant to be in my life for that season, and now I'm in a new season? So those are just some questions you can ask yourself. The other questions I didn't finish. Also, have I used this within the past year? And then, is this serving me in any way? And maybe it was serving you, like I said, at a time, and now it's not. So I hope that this can inspire you all to simplify in all areas, or just choose one area that you feel is the most overwhelming right now. Choose one area. You don't want to overwhelm yourself by having to go through all your books and your wardrobe and create all these systems. It's like, we started with ER Shred. It's the lead domino. Now, what's the next thing that how can you allow this ER Shred concept to spill over into other areas of your life and reap the benefits that we've seen from simplifying our diet and eliminating some of those decisions that we have to make, so that we can free up some of that valuable mental space for creating the life that we really want. Okay. Jeff, would you like to come on with me? You can unmute yourself, and let's talk about anything that you want to talk about. If there's any area of your life that you're like, yeah, I want to simplify, but I'm having a hard time, or just anything that comes to mind, let's talk about it.
Let's see. Let's stick with the clothes.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. I did the ER Shred, lost a bunch of weight. I got a lot more confidence, sometimes a little too much, and I have to watch it. But I bought new clothes, and it's funny because, like, this shirt I have on is too big for me.
Oh, okay.
I haven't gotten rid of it. I've got brand new shirts still in the package that I haven't taken out that are the right size. It's like, okay, I don't want to get rid of it because it's still, I wear it, it's comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I have new summer clothes and winter clothes in the right size because I lost 70 pounds.
Wow.
So I had to get all new clothes. And I still, like, if you go in my closet, I got stuff still in the brand new packages with the tags on it. And the other stuff I haven't gotten rid of that I used to wear.
And why do you think you can't get rid of it?
I don't know.
Or do you want to get rid of it? Do you want to simplify your wardrobe? Is that something that
I did
you're
donate some of it, but there's some that I still have.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of funny. The t-shirts are very comfortable, but on the wrist, there's all little holes in them. And they're like, get rid of them. I'm like, yeah, but I wear them in the yard when I'm doing yard work and cutting wood and this and that. So I always find an excuse not to get rid of it and take the new one out of the package.
Okay. Yeah, that's I think Sean can relate. He's always like, I'm always trying to go through his closet and have him get rid of things too. And he's always like, well, I might use that to work in the yard, like you said. But he realized that he didn't need like 5 pairs of jeans to work in the yard. He only needs one, because if he's going to work in the yard, we wash him when he's done, we wash him and it's ready to use them again. So he really only needs one outfit to work in the yard. But he also ran into the same thing, like, well, I could, it's this mindset, this belief that we have that, we don't want to waste, right? We feel like it's maybe it's wasteful to, but it really, when you think about how to shift your mindset around it, like I said earlier, I had to, instead of thinking, when we were getting rid of a lot of our stuff at our other home before we were selling it, at first we were feeling really discouraged. Like we were pretty much had to, we were saying, it feels like we're just throwing these things away. We're throwing it away because we don't know what else to do with it. We would try to sell some, but just, we didn't have time. So we ultimately ended up donating a lot of it. And we both had to wrap our minds around it. Like, we're not throwing this away. We're not wasting. We're donating. We're giving it to people that could use it. And it's really just you have to like tell yourself a different story about how you're getting, what you're thinking about getting rid of. If you're thinking, well, I don't want to waste, or I can still use it, but ask yourself questions like, do I love wearing this? Sometimes I would wear things just because I paid money for it, but I didn't actually feel like my best in it. Like, it didn't feel like it was flattering, or it wasn't comfortable. And I'm all about comfort. My wardrobe is very much cute, comfy.
Yeah.
So tell me more, like, why do you think that?
It's almost like that, the wasteful, like, I'm like, why am I going to throw this out if I can still wear it?
Yeah. And then you have all these new shirts that you bought why don't you wear the new shirts?
I haven't ruined one and gotten rid of it yet.
Because what?
I haven't gotten rid of any,
Oh, okay. So you don't want to wear.
I've actually ruined changing the oil on the car, and my shirt got ruined.
Okay. So you're worried about ruining your new shirts.
Yeah, I threw it out and picked the new shirt out and unwrapped it. So I'm slowly starting to, but it's not
get rid of things.
It's not like, well, get rid of the 3 shirts that have the little holes in the sleeves and open the 3 that you have on the shelf.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, it's almost wasteful. It's like, it still fits, it still works, it's still, but I just need to let it go and open them up.
Right. And remind yourself of the benefits of letting things go, and how that can really override that belief that you're wasting.
Yeah.
The benefits of less decisions.
Yeah.
The more I learned about the decision fatigue and how my battery was running out so quickly because of all of my decisions, then I found this motivation to simplify in other areas as well. Once I started to see how awesome the ER shred was contributing to the amount of time that I have now, and just taking all of those decisions out, where I used to always have to think, okay, what am I going to eat now? What's healthy? I got to go to the store and get like 500 different ingredients, with the vegan lifestyle. But reminding yourself of the benefits of that, less decisions, can maybe motivate you to get your mind on board, like, okay, it's not wasting because I'm donating. I also want to free up that mental space. I want to be at my best so that I can make good decisions throughout the entire day and not fall victim later in the day to, back to your old habits of wasting time on entertainment or snacking.
Yep.
So just keeping that in your mind, how beneficial it can be to conserve that energy for the things that you ultimately want, might be able to encourage you to be like, okay, I can get rid of, I'm going to make a goal to get rid of 5 shirts. And it doesn't have to be a huge, complete overhaul, just 5 shirts, a little less decisions to make every day can
Just start doing
become a
little
lot
at a
over time.
time.
Yeah. Sometimes we can get really overwhelmed when we think about, well, yeah, I have a lot of clothes I need to get rid of. I got a lot of stuff in my house. My kitchen alone was like overwhelming when I first went through my kitchen. It just, every single drawer and cabinet, and making those decisions, like, what do I want to keep? What do I want to let go of? You really have to plan for that, and, make sure that you plan that in strategically and mindfully, knowing that this getting rid of things does require a lot of decisions. So knowing that is going to take a lot of upfront mental energy, but then later it's going to pay off later. So that moving out of that house was really hard because we had to make a lot of decisions, and it was every day. It was emotionally and physically exhausting, and that emotionally exhausting aspect of it was because of all the decisions we had to make, like, what should we get rid of, what should we keep, and that was overwhelming. But once we got it all done, then we're like, like, we just felt so much lighter, but it did require a lot of that mental energy.
It was kind of funny because when I lost all my weight, when I was losing my weight, in the corner of my closet, I had, 5 pair of Dockers that I had worn twice.
Oh.
But they were 10 years old. Because I grew out of them. I wore them twice and I grew out of them, but I kept them. When I lost the weight, hey, these fit. Well, then those were too big and I had to get new ones. And I actually gave them, my son's friend needed Dockers. I'm like, I wore these cool. Like 3 times. Here you go.
Yeah, nice. That's so much fun when you can find somebody that actually really wants or needs what you no longer want or need. Like, that's the best, when everything comes into alignment there, right?
Yeah.
It makes you feel really good. You're like, hey, I'm not throwing this away. Somebody actually really needs this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for talking about that. Is there anyone else who would like to talk about another area of their life that they're hoping to simplify and perhaps struggling to really get in there and do it? Sometimes it's the hardest part, right? To start.
Hi, Crystal.
Hey,
I really
Barb.
appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
I'm retired, and I have been retired for 12 years, and I have no excuse. I have plenty of time. And you're right. First thing in the morning, I tend to be able to get more done. And I have been making some changes in some areas of my life that have been good. And when I did my second shred, I got really sick, but it was not from the shred. It was from it was an emotional thing, dealing with an ex-husband, that I think somehow I got really sick. And I couldn't talk for 10 days. And I was thinking about that. And I'm okay, I need to stop, not communicate with him at all. But we were just, it was emails anyway, because he lives far away. But I think that's my lesson for why I can't talk, and I cleaned out, got rid of a lot of things because I had a lot of energy. And we have this great share collective here in this area where I live in California. And people post what they're looking for, or they post, this is on Facebook, we post what we have to offer. And that's been really helpful. I have this box of clothes that don't fit me anymore because I lost weight that I set aside for this woman, and she never came and picked. And I've had that box for like 4 months just sitting there, and I'm thinking I need to open it up.
Oh no, Barb, you froze on us. I can't hear what you're saying if you're still talking. It just froze up.
I don't, and I sit there, and I've thought about setting a timer too for when I'm watching.
Wait, sorry, Barb. I missed a little bit of what you said. It froze, and I didn't hear that last part that you said. So you had the box for 4 months, and then.
Oh yeah. So I need to open that. I'm going to make a commitment. I'm going to open that box tomorrow, and I am going to see what's in it and post those again. But the thing you said about setting a timer when, on social media or watching Netflix, I don't have cable.
Yeah.
So I just watch like Netflix and Hulu, but I really need to take control of that part of my life too. But I know that it's baby steps, and I just have to decide which thing I'm going to work on and do that a little bit at a time. So I appreciate it. Was really helpful and good reminders.
Good. That's awesome. So I'm glad that you're taking some things from this, like setting a timer, and just taking baby steps, not overwhelming yourself to get everything in your entire home simplified, or even the people in your life, because you're dealing with the ex that, these people come back into our lives and we're like, no, you were meant to be in that season. We're done. Right.
Yeah, the season is long past. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
I totally understand that getting sick from our emotions. I can definitely relate. And I think that's what happened to me a week ago. I got, because I'm like, well, I got my diet, like everything's like good. Like, I don't know how this could happen, but then I dig a little deeper and I'm like, oh, I'm allowing myself to get stressed, and it's certain emotions that I'm allowing to take over. So I love that you're aware in that area, knowing that, because sometimes, this has happened to me where I've gotten discouraged about my diet, thinking like, why did I get sick? My diet's perfect, but you have to take into consideration that all the contributing factors whenever we get sick, and emotions can play a huge role. And that's why I'm so passionate about the mindset piece here, because the more I've put my focus and energy there, the more I'm like discovering like, oh my gosh, like, whoa, I didn't realize I had been doing this to myself because of my thoughts and my beliefs, or the people that I'm allowing to stay in my life that shouldn't be in my life,
Yeah, I just have to tell you, I really admire you. I wish I were where you were at my age, but at your age, because I'm 76, so I'm way older. But I just feel like you're really smart and you're wise in a lot of ways, and I really appreciate your help and your sharing this with us.
Thank you so much, Barb. I really appreciate that.
Crystal, can I butt in for a minute and ask you?
Yes, absolutely.
So firstly,
how do you say your name?
My name's Mika.
Mika, okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Mika. Thank you.
Been completely present, but running around like a blue bottom fly while the children are at their school, getting everything done. Now, one thing that I will share with everyone right now is what I have had a huge problem with letting go of. And I'll show you what I mean, because this will overwhelm everyone. So I had to leave the matrimonial home very quickly with my two incredible children and moved into a new property last May. Okay. Now, with me, we had 2.5 acres on the central coast of New South Wales with a huge shed on it that when I relocated from New Zealand to Australia, I basically did what I should have known better. And that was I brought in people to remove, pack up the whole house and get everything shipped over to Australia. Now, when I left with the children very quickly, you can read between the lines, there was boxes sitting in that shed for 5 years that had never been opened or touched. I have no idea why I felt I needed to bring these with me. I'm going to show you something. No shame, no judgment.
Yes, shame, no judgment. Oh, talk again. So it'll show us again and talk, because I accidentally talked and so it's on me.
Okay, so boxes in my garage. Don't mind my BEA. This was before I started my E upgrade 4 days ago, and I am a self-confessed BEA-aholic, not anymore. However, I opened one of these boxes in June of last year, so a month after we relocated to this new property. And when I opened it, it was my wedding box, cards, you name it. Not the best thing for me to open in that moment. I can share that I spent about an hour in the fetal position, bawling my eyes out, got a big marker and wrote, do not open this box ever again. After this call, I am going to go open it and throw that crap out, because it is not doing me any good, even holding space in this new environment. But that's all I wanted to share, and thank you. I'm getting quite a few tips off your call today, and I appreciate it.
Oh, good. That was so awesome, Mika. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Such a good thing for all of us to think about, the things that we are holding on to like that is stirs up that type of emotion for us. It's like, why hold space for that? And I love that you're like, I am letting that go. And sometimes it's like layers of things that we're letting go. Once we start simplifying, like the ER shred, it's like, that's just one layer. And then you're like, you get into the next layer and you get into the next layer, and you realize that it is like an onion, and you're trying to find that true version of yourself. And by eliminating all of this excess, the stuff, the emotional baggage, the things that are just, weighing us down mentally and emotionally, it's important that we recognize those things and how it is keeping us from blossoming and getting down to, tearing off those layers of the onion. And how awesome it is. Every time we tear off another layer, we're just like, that feels good. You just want to keep going. So thank you for sharing that. That was so awesome. I love it. Okay, we got 5 more minutes. Does anybody else want to come on?
I'll speak up. I'm still
okay.
off
Hey, Sarah.
I'm doing this spreadsheet right now. So one of the things, I guess it is sort of mine. I really can relate to what Mika shared. I mean, had boxes upon boxes. I have moved so many times since my parents died. And I went from us having 2 houses, because I had a place with my fiance and their house, moved into their house, downsized a little, then sold their house, downsized into a smaller house and put stuff in storage, and then gradually had to almost pare down when I ended up having to move, and financially I just had to relocate. I only took what fit in my car. But there still was never enough space renting a room. I rented a room for years until I moved into the studio apartment 4 years ago. There was never enough space for anything. And now it's sort of like, well, I want to pare down, but also at the same time, there's some stuff I want to keep, because I do have in the plans to to buy a small house where I would like to keep some of these things. I think Jeff's thing about the clothing is my biggest thing. When you lose weight, I've been up and down so many times. When I regained the weight in 2021, I had clothes to wear because I hadn't gotten rid of my big clothes. So now I'm down again and I have the big clothes, and I'm like, I don't know if that plays a part in it, but I feel Jeff's thing. And Jeff, it's funny. My dad used to keep shirts with holes in them, and I used to love them. My mom just screamed, but I would steal his shirts because they were the most comfortable thing. They were so worn in and so soft. They were the best sleeping shirts in the world. And my mom just like, don't you wear that out? It has the holes in it. And but I do get that when you have memories of a shirt. And I remember when I moved, one of the hardest things was not to take all my running t-shirts, all my trophies that I had won. Those were really hard decisions. So yeah, I probably can pare down a lot before I move, but I really want to thank you. I also like the simplifying the life thing. One of the things I did this week was I noticed my meetings in another group weren't popping in, and they actually gave me a link I could subscribe to the group events. And once I hit that, it gave me an option to put it in my Google Calendar. And now the events are showing in my Google Calendar. So today I did something like, even with bill paying, to simplify my life. Like, I didn't know when. I thought I was late and they had called me about another thing. And I realized it would simplify things if I put these bill due dates in my Google Calendar, like a few days before. So I knew when to pay them, and then I wouldn't have to fret so much and get the stress. Just a way of simplifying it, because things that occupy my brain are the most stressful. Like thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
And
trying to remember all the things that you need to remember.
I'm supposed to do this on this day. Okay, the tire bills due this day. My Kohl's cards due this day. And putting that in, now I know it's taken care of. As long as I look at my calendar in the morning, I know it's taken care of. It's now off my brain. So,
I love that. Perfect example, because yes, it does. It takes that off of your brain because you know it's in your calendar. And if you're in the habit of following your calendar and looking at your calendar regularly, then it's like, don't need to carry that anymore. I know it's going to get done because it's in my calendar.
And scheduling stuff too. I guess scheduling my life, like looking, and then it's helping me to get a better view of what's important, what's priority. Why am I wasting time here? Okay, you have time here. Why are you wasting this? Seeing it all on paper, whether you use paper or a Google Calendar, I think is also a way of freeing the brain. It's like, okay, I know, or I have this free time. Okay, and I can even schedule in just time to waste and just surf the internet, and I can put that in there and still not feel deprived.
Exactly. I love that. I love scheduling in time to waste, because that's where I think we can go wrong when we think that when it comes to planning and being efficient and productive, that we should be utilizing every minute of our day getting things done. But it's okay to actually schedule time to waste and to just have nothing planned. And it actually feels really good, because I, like you said, I don't feel like guilty about it or like I'm wasting time, because I'm like, I know that I allowed this and it's fitting in my calendar perfectly. I've got all these other things that are productive and I'm going to be getting things done, but then I've got this hour here where I just get to sit and do nothing if I feel
sort
like
of
it,
like the 80% with food. Like I'm 80% on plan, but my 20%, if I have something that may not be totally planned, that's okay, because 80% of what I do is on point. So it's scheduling that way. But just that one came to me today. But I feel on both of these, all the people here, and especially as you get older, even Barbara, those downsizing. How many times do we downsize? How many things do we hold on? And I think it was one of the things my dad said to me before he passed was, I had said, maybe you guys should go to a smaller house. He goes, oh, that would mean I'd have to clean out the garage. And I'm like, well, who do you think is going to clean it if you die? He goes, well, that's what you're there for. He really left everything knowing that, oh, she'll have to do this. I just don't have to deal with they had a junk room. They had a garage full of stuff. I found old canteens from my Girl Scout days as a kid in that garage. It's like, why are they holding on to this stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, as you get older, you have to sort of say what pictures are important, what is important, what books. Going through his books, what books do I want to keep? Which ones I don't. There are some that are keepers. There are some that somebody else might want to read. So that's all I got tonight. But
I love that. Thank you. I love that you shared how you plan in time to waste or plan in your treats or your indulgences when it comes to your food. I think that that's a huge thing. If to finish off this call, I want to leave you with that. Like, thank you, Sarah, for bringing that up. That when you do that, you're training your brain not to give into urges, but you're still giving yourself the treats, the time to waste, the treat or the indulgence or the alcoholic beverage. You can choose the indulgences that you feel like you have some leeway. Like if alcohol, I know alcohol is not good for anybody, but everybody can get away with a little bit. So if you think that that's something, and not everybody, I'm saying, okay, it's individual. So I got to make sure that I use my language correctly. But if alcohol is something that you are good at being very intentional about 1 or 2 drinks, and you don't have to pay a huge price the next day, then allow that to be your treat, but plan it. That's the only thing that you need to keep in mind. Planning it ahead of time will train your brain not to give in to the urges. You want to train your brain to follow. So it's like you are giving yourself time to waste the treat or the drink, but do not ever give in to the urges, because that's training your brain to have the opposite effect of what you ultimately want, because then it gets harder and harder to stick with certain things because your brain wants to tell you, like, just do it in the moment when you feel the urge. But if you have the urge and you really want the drink, or you really want the treat, or the slice of pizza, or you want to waste time on Netflix or social media, then just know that I'm not going to do it in this moment, but I'm going to plan it into my calendar. I'm going to let myself have that hour later this evening after I get these things done, or I'm going to let myself have that treat this weekend. And that way, when you plan it, you are literally training your brain to follow your plans as opposed to giving into those urges. So thank you, Sarah. That was perfect to end the call. And I am so excited that you guys were all here with me live. I love it when you guys join me live here on Zoom. And I know that there's people watching it on Facebook as well. But thank you guys so much for joining me. And I will be here again on next month. I think it's actually December 1st, which is the first Thursday of the month. So just keep that in mind, that these mindset calls happen once a month, the first Thursday of every month, unless I get sick like I did last week. And but I'm very it's a huge goal of mine to be very consistent and to always follow through and show up. So I'm sorry that I seemed flaky last week, but we all get sick sometimes, and that's okay. But thank you guys for being patient, and thank you for joining me. And I will see you in the group and also next month on the next mindset call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, you guys.
thank you all.
Bye, Crystal. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Mel.